Transpiration. So in our lesson today, we are going to discuss what transpiration is and what are the three main types of transpiration. So stay tuned. Now, transpiration is a process whereby plants lose water to the surrounding. This water is lost in form of vapor. Essentially, it's simply sweating, but in the case of plants. Now, when talking about types of transpiration, this simply refers to the site where transpiration takes place. Now, when discussing transpiration, this simply refers to movement of water vapor from within the plants through openings into the surrounding. So we have three openings that are present in plants. We have stomata, cuticle, and lastly lenticels. So based on these three openings, we have our types of transpiration. So our first type of transpiration, stomatal transpiration. Our second type, cuticular transpiration, and our last one, lenticular transpiration. So let's discuss what happens in each of these transpiration. Our first one, stomatal transpiration. So stomatal transpiration occurs within openings known as stomata. What are stomata? Stomata are openings that are found on the leaf surface, specifically on the upper and lower epidermis of the leaf. Now what happens is that the opening and the closing of stomata is controlled by a pair of cells known as guard cells. So guard cells control when stomata can open and when they can close. Now usually in most plants, stomata tend to open during the day but close at night. The reason why they open during the day is so that they can allow gaseous exchange to take place. So simply put, they allow diffusion of carbon dioxide into the plants so that the plants can then carry out photosynthesis. But when stomata are open, they also allow water vapor to be lost from the plant into the surrounding, and this is where transpiration comes into. Now one single opening is known as a stoma, more than one stomata. So my point is this: since stomata tend to be present in numerous numbers in the presence of the leaf, you'll find that a lot of the transpiration actually occurs through stomata more than any other opening in the plant. And that is the stomatal transpiration. Moving on to the next one, cuticular transpiration. Now, cuticular transpiration occurs through the cuticle. So the cuticle is a waxy, waterproof layer that is found on the upper and lower surfaces of the leaf. Now, I know you're probably thinking, mbona anatuchanganya huyu, and why is she contradicting herself? She just told us that the cuticle is waterproof, and at the same time, water is lost through the cuticle. How does this happen? Okay, let me explain it to you. So the cuticle, yes, is waterproof, but it doesn't act as an absolute barrier. That means that it doesn't completely stop movement of water across it. And the reason for this is because the cuticle has these tiny openings that allow water vapor to be lost to the surrounding. So what the cuticle does is that it reduces the amount of water vapor that is lost. It doesn't completely stop transpiration, it simply slows down the rate of transpiration. Now one thing I'd like to make a note of is this: when you have plants that are found in arid or semi-arid areas, like deserts and such as the aloe vera, the cacti, you will notice that they have a very thick layer of cuticle. Now the reason for this is so as to lower the rate of transpiration. So essentially what happens is that if you have a thicker cuticle, the rate of transpiration is going to be low, and therefore less water is going to be lost, which is very crucial for plants that grow in areas where water is already scarce. Now, this is something that I'll discuss in detail in the next video when talking about factors affecting the rate of transpiration. So be sure to check it out. Now moving on to our third type of transpiration, and that is lenticular transpiration. Now lenticular transpiration occurs through lenticels. What are the lenticels? So the lenticels are openings that are found in the stems of woody plants. Pause. What are the woody plants? So woody plants are essentially these trees that tend to have barks or stems that are strong and wide, usually brown in color. I'm sure you've noted them in your surroundings, such as in the baobab tree, the oaks, and so on. These are woody trees. Now you'll find that in the stem of such trees, you have these tiny openings known as lenticels that allow water vapor to be lost to the surrounding. So this is what is termed as lenticular transpiration. So how are lenticels formed? Now lenticels are formed when cork cells become loosely arranged. So in the stems of such trees, you have cells known as cork cells. Cork cells tend to be arranged in a loose manner, and by doing so, they create these spaces, these openings that allow water vapor to diffuse from within the plant into the surrounding, therefore making lenticular transpiration possible. Now, one thing I'd like to make a note of is this. Out of the 3 types of transpiration, most of it happens through stomata and very little of it occurs through lenticels. So that brings us to the end of part 1 of transpiration. Be sure to tune into the next video where I'll be discussing factors affecting the rate of transpiration. See you there.